So here we are back again. This is a makeup shear because I screwed up the video on the last shear, so I'm doing it again. And on the other hand, some of the things are a little bit obscure here for me. So we're on page Taf Nun Aleph. Anybody has this sefer? Go over it like this. So we'll say like this: Hakos v'hayayin. So we have a cup, we have wine. That's bows, and we have fingers. Romzim, the Katnos Hasheni, is all a reference to the second type of Katnos. The Gadlus Hasheni, and also the fact that their Havayas is going to be the Gadlus Hasheni going to be made out of Havayas. The Kavanas Kos Rishon. So now this is the Kavana. You're sitting there, and it is time to drink, to make Kiddush, to the cup. So mina arbacha bekosas shal yada niknasim bezer anpin hamochim and iskarim habahim mitzad ima. So we say the wine is for the side of ima. The kavod b'techida bechal katnos hasheni. So the first thing you should have in mind is katnos hasheni. A ball the chazer anpin me'ima law. It comes from ima law. Mitam shagadas rishon kavar niknas al kain ein sorok l'ramos oso alakosa. Therefore, it's not necessary to hint at it with the cup. Bakatas rishon nidcha ad acher mikan etzel the Karpas. So later on, we're going to see the concept of Karpas. V'hu b'chalavush echad dekata b'sheni ner mazim, and it, that is levushim, this is katnos sheni. Be'inyan the kos atzbacho v'chayad echaz ba'ochezes bo shehu b'chinas ma'aser. Now let's see, what does he mean by that? He said chalavusha the Katnos. So the Katnos, the moach of Katnos is in lavush. Hem mebechin chitzonim achatzonius. They're coming from the chitzonis, the aspect of chitzonis. Why the ima? The ima law, but it's coming from the higher level. That is ima law. It's Katnos, but it's coming from ima law, which is much higher level. Because the kitzonis, so therefore the mice itself of putting the wine in the cup and then pouring the cup. But the kavan kichameshets bowls yad yamindacha. So have this in mind, that the 5 fingers of the right hand, shikaneka the chesed, which really the right side always refers to chesed. Asher aleichem, that in regards to them it says like this. Milamala, it said, we had said, Yoshev HaKos Hazeh, so he said, Rishon. Let me see if maybe I skipped something. Nope. So he said, Yoshev HaKos Hazeh, Rishon she'atzach b'mitzvahs HaKiddush. Hem Romazah, the Bechinas HaKatnos Hasheni is a reference to that. Shulha Kalim v'chalavushim shal natzav v'chod yisod, which are the Kalim, lavushim of the Nai, in which case does the lavush, which contains the mochen de Katnos, the imali law, but we're talking about imali law because we're talking about Katnos sheni. Hanekroim b'klalusa v'chezer gevur teferes the ima. So these are going to consider to be the right line, the left line, and the middle line of ima. Akulalas betam and nizker the ale for a reason that we said previously. Keilu hamochim, because these mochim that we're talking about, hem haniknasim ato, that's what's coming in now. Techida b'mitzvah shdias kos rishon etzon mitzvah kiddush. B'zer anpen, and it's going into zer anpen that the kavan ki mikol shechein shekavacha v'achik shekavar. Lifneha Kiddush, that before the Kiddush, Niknas Mochim shall godless Rishon Kanizker, that the Mochim of godless Rishon have not come in. Shahaki Nisan Zahim Alacha Gavar Mikor Kedushas Yom. It already came in, as we know. Well, let's go on and let's see what else he said. But the Kavin, Eich Yesh Remez Al Hamochim and Iskarim Al Yedecha Bezecha B'maisa. So what about the Mochim that we're talking about here? Kakos atzbachu begematria shmona v'sheish geminyan shem, the name of the gematria of the name Elokem. Shehu shem halavushim, which is once again the name of the lavush in which the moach is contained. Shall the Katnos Sheni of the Bulvush of the Katnos Sheni, Va'amdacha V'chuba B'chinas Tumrazacha V'shucha B'shem Akadatem Keniska the Eo. Now understand that what he's saying is that in Olam Atzilus, in the highest, most panimistic of place, the actual thing which is happening is with letters. So there, we're going to see later on that Yain is a gematria of 70. So it's also gematrias. It's letters and gematrias. So in other places, in SHAAR Rapach, for example, it's teaching us that the highest level, the most panimistic level of understanding the light of God is through the letters. Now the letters also have numbers, number counts, because letters are also numbers. That's a secondary stage, not necessarily closer to us. It's a spread of the idea, which we'll see in some other places. Anyway, Shehem Ha'os is a Kavod D'Shem Elokim, so change to the Kadatam. That's the name of the Labush. It is an Elokim, but a switched Elokim. Ochez is because that are holding onto the coast. Haim Sod Chamesh Osius Sheyesh B'Shem Kadatam. That's the secret of the 5 letters that are in the name of Kadatam. That this is what I heard from my Rebbe, that is the Rav, the Ri. That there really is a reference to Katnos Rishon, Hanikru B'Shem Elokim, which is called Elokim purely, B'li Tamura, without any switch towards Chesed. Aksha Karpas, but when it actually comes in, it's going to be in Karpas, but there's also reference to it. Now we're thinking about it now when we're making the first cup, but only thinking about it. We're not bringing in the mochin, these mochin. This whole thing is very, very, very difficult, very obscure for me to understand, but I'm still trying. Because he romes al Katnos Sheni, so here it is as a remes to Katnos Sheni. And Nikra B'Shem Akadatam. Sheim L'cha B'Lo Kain Ma'adura Yesh Sora Gan B'Rebes Akos B'Gan B'Rebes Minyan Chameshes B'Oz Eichel Devushach Katnos Sheni. Now I have to read it again. So he had said that the hands, the fingers on the hands that are holding the cup, actually represent Katnos Rishon. V'Chakos who Romes al Katnos Sheni, but the cup itself is about Katnos Sheni, Dik B'Shem Akadatam, which is called by that name. Shin Lo Kain, so if it's not that case, Ma'ducha Yesh Sora Gan B'Rebes Akos, so why do we think about the Kos? V'Gan B'Rebes Minyan Chameshes B'Oz al Levushach Katnos Sheni. So I'm not sure I understood that. I'm going on. But I can't rely on that. Ella al Masha Kasavda, but only what I wrote. B'Techila. Because that's the way I found it in the notes that I took from the Rebbe. That I wrote in regards to it from that time. So since it's impossible to really settle these two ideas together, Ramnam Bir Inyan Atzorav Gamba Remes Akos V'Gamba Remes Minyan Chameshes Bos. So why do we need to think about the 5 fingers that are holding the kos? And why do we have to think about all the rest? Pashu Tuki Av B'Mochan Dekatas. So it's simple that also the Mochan Dekatas, Bein Rishon to Bein Sheni, Yesh Bechem Gam Atzvos V'Gam Kalim, they would like once Atzvos and Kalim, Kolomer Shaha Atzvos Hema Ora Shabasochem B'Chaleh Shabasochem and Ekroim Molim Mamish V'Hem B'Emes Shameless Savaya Ella She'ena Nikara B'Fnei Atzvan, but you can't really recognize them by themselves. Al Kain Hem Nekroim Moshem Alavosha, because they're so small, I guess. The Kalim, which is actually holding them inside of them. It's a remez to these two different ideas of Katnos Sheni, which is the clothing of Ima law. This is the kos that we're talking about. Is the same gematria as the name Elokim, which is din, pure din, din, struck tough din, But here it is that din, but the din has been sweetened. And as a result of that, it's called a kadatam. The levushim, now the mochim that are inside of these levushim, Haim hayayin shebetocha kos, it really refers to the wine that's in it. That's what's inside of it. That's the wine. The wine. V'hi v'chayayin who gam came romas al shem makadatam. Now, how is that? Kadatam with the is going to explain. Shahare hamochin dekatas nekroim al shem halavushim. That's the way. That's a rule. He said he ne hayayin shebegematria shavim. So therefore, the yayin, which has a gematria of 70. So if you should join it together that are holding on to this cup, because then everything comes out to be 75, meaning the kadatam and the koilel, which is the kadatam and the koilel, which said before that when the koilel is added, it's masculine. It's from the right side of the middle. I'm not sure exactly how that works out. So it's a chavidim so shnei aramazim. Sheyesh be'imyan the ma'aser shalakos. And in the Ramazel, the Shneicha B'mini Katnos. They're not to tell you about two different kinds of Katnos. Ki in the Shneicha B'chilin Shechel Katnos, the Sheni B'atzma, but two different aspects of that itself, which is a Kadatam, and the wine that is poured into the cup. So he said, the God L'Sheni. So let's talk about God L'Sheni. He says, Shein Kavayas B'mitlu Ikanizka the Erev V'Chaneil. So these are avayos, as we mentioned up above. Niknas, Nirmas, Inyan, Kenisas, and so there's a reference here to the time of their coming in. Ayedecha Dibur has to go along with what we're saying, Shal Birchas HaKedesh, V'al Yedecha Kavana, by having Kavana, Shehi HaMachshava, Shechoshech, B'tevis, Shemotze, B'pev, so the person is thinking about what he actually comes out of his mouth. Shal Birchas HaKedesh, when you say the Kiddush, and now you have the idea that on the first cup you're bringing in all the mochin to the side of Abba that come for the side of Chochma of Ima. HaKiddush ki mitzvahs HaKiddush hi min HaTorah. V'chein birchas hayayin shichu midarbanim al yedecha b'dibur. V'chakavana gam ba'anim shachim mochin the godless sheni. So in this same idea, we have also hamshacha the godless sheni. V'chein tekavin b'shemus avaya shebebirchas elo sebebrachas elo. Shehem Shemus Avaya, the Av, the Milu Yudin, that's how they're put together. V'bekos Rishon Niknas Kav Yamin Hud Sad Mu HaChochma De'ima. Look, in his boyer, we've already explained Ki Milu Yudin Hu La'ola B'mu HaChochma, that the Milu of Yudin always refers to Chochma. That's called Av, as Av. HaChochma Shehi Yud Shal Havaya, Kanoidim. Who Kaddish, who Rishon B'Seder Chasimana B'Zuch Alayla. So this is the first thing that we do, and we talked about it. So then he comes and he says like this, I guess we're over here. He says, Achar Kacha Siman L'Sheni B'Seder Chasimana B'Lecha B'Pesach Hu Urchatz. V'hu Inyan HaRachitzach HaRishon Shechel Yadayim B'Leil Pesach. This is the first, a preliminary washing. He al yedecha b'mochan mispashlim b'mekomim is through the mochin that was spread into from their places. Sheberosh v'yordim b'guf, and they go down into the body. V'lechein ki b'shem shel yud-kei b'melua, so therefore it's the name of yud-kei in a milui form, which is 20 and 15. We'll see how it goes. Shku olacha b'chakol. But so if you multiply it in a certain way, Yud times Hey, we'll see that is the Milui Yud times the Milui Hey, you're going to get the Shu Ola B'chakol B'minyan Rochatz. Now how is that? He said because here's what you do. Ki Yud Pa'amayim Hey, so if you take 20 times 15, it's going to come to the gematria of the number Shin. Now Shin is very important in this reading over here. So when you remove from this root, Shehem base osius yud k, which are two letters, which are yud and k, just the two letters, simple letters. Shenishara milamala, that remain up above. B'makom hamochim shebarosh, that remain up above in the rosh. Harech a minyan rochatz levada mispashet beguf. So what actually spreads from the top down to the bottom is a little bit. He said, well, down to the bottom is going to be 298, not 300. V'chatam sheyesh the kavin rak ba'osis yud and k. So what's the reason why we're only thinking about those two letters? Hu ki shem yud k hakolol shtei osis rishonos shem avaya, so that the yud k is the first two letters, the avaya, who so the mochin, the zer anpin. Those are the mochin. The zer anpin, the nukve, and also one is the nukve. Now they are also known as the zer anpin, and the nukve are the vav and hey shel avaya. The klaus atzilus kanoida. V'dekavech b'rechitza zuch b'rishon b'shem yud ke b'meluo. Hanizker b'toch shem kavai b'milchui ha'oilo av. So he says like this: b'shem yak b'meluo hanizker b'toch shem kavai b'milchui av. Shulchan b'milchui the yud in kazeh. It looks like this: yud vav dav ke yud. That's what we said before. Which is a remez, is a hint, l'muach ha-chochma, because chochma is always in yuds. Shegavara niknas, because the Rishon, what it already came in, v'zecha kavanasa v'checha kavanas of rechitza zu. This is the kind of kavana of this rechitza, shel achar kiddush, shebo niknas moach zel, that this moach, the moach of Katnos Rishon, is going to come in here. So he says, Achar kach, hasiman hashlishi b'seder hasimana below b'pesach is the Inyan mitzvah sachidas karpas. Then you have to eat the karpas. Shulchan Memora al Knesses hamochin the Katnos Rishon, which is teaching us about that there's entering of the Katnos Rishon is coming in at this time. Mitzad tevuna gemoshi is bar, and it's coming from where? It's coming from the lower half of the lower element of Avavima, which is called Tavuna. In this case, this is the of Ima, which is Tavuna. Kamoshi Yisbar, and we're going to explain this. Besoda Inyan Hu Ki Achsha Niknasucha Mochan the Goddess Rishon, which comes in at the beginning of the night. V'chakatas Ashenda, V'chagadas Ashenda, the Muach Chochma, the Zer Anpin, the Mitzad Ima, because Yain V'Kiddush and Nizkar, Hinecha Kavarcha, the Chitzonim, the Stalkul, the Chitzonim are already gone. V'nistalklach is awesome. Began partzuf is their anpen v'nukve. The gavocha v'yochel the konat b'katas Rishon. So we've already started to do the katas Rishon. Gavar yechol the katas Rishon al yedecha v'mitzvah zachitas karpas. So that's when it comes in. Ve'ein lana chashash yachzu the echos bechem. So we're not concerned that these terrible dinim that were portrayed by the Vush, which is the name Elokem, they're going to grab a hold of the neck again, like it did before. Afal pichu din kosher. Shal came who nikrach b'shevis Elokem k'nizkar. That's the reason why it's called that way. So he said, "V'hida chatam shachachidus hakarpas remezes the knesses hakatas Rishon." So how is it that karpas itself has anything to do with the beginning, bringing in these secondary mochin, or this mochin of Katnos Rishon? I'm sorry. Midas Karpas Ubigamatria Shas 360. So on 360 is actually the circumference of a circle. We live in the world of Ophanim, of wheels and circles and balls. We're living on a planet which is a ball, and our whole lives and everything about it is always in a cycle. Ki Midas Karpas Ubigamatria Shas 360. Shlosh mer b'shishe v'shishe v'hu kaminyan shem elokim b'milo yudin. Gazeh. And he shows it to us. There's the hey yud. Shuhu b'gematria shen. Ushad malanoch v'chalos shen. And if when you fill it up the ocean, so that is make the milui of the shen. The b'milua kazeh b'shen yud nun, that's 360. Yihi yachatov b'tosefes shishim. This will be therefore betosefes, by adding on the milui, shishim, it makes another 60. Learn Moshe HaMochim is pashta b'sheish kitzvos, the zer anpin, to let you know that these mochin are the mochin that are moving into the 6 areas zer kapin, shekol echad kol belsara, that each one of the spheres zer anpin has 10 within it, and that makes 60. V'az yihira b'gematria Karpas, which is 360. It's a very interesting idea. V'nimsa shehu romez al mochin de Katnos, so therefore it's a reference to the mochas of Katnos. V'hu b'shem elokim b'milu yudin, hu HaKatnos Rishon, is the first katan, the moach hachma shebalavush. It's the first moach, which is in the lavush, which is over the moach hachma shebalavush chitzonius. The chitzonius of Netzach the Ima, Sheikha Tavuna, which is in this case is the Tavuna part of Ima. Keniska the Ale, as we mentioned, the Abino who b'milu hayin, because it comes with a milu hayim, a muach hadas, b'milu alofim. Well, we'll get to that. So we're getting an idea about Karpas, what it is, how it works, what the concept of the circle is. So you had this question about eating karpas. Shagam kol sharcham amochim shal katnos rishon. The mocha bebina should become small. The das should become imsoy, and the das, which is in the middle line. The mitzad ima shuhu hatavuna. Gam heim niknasim yachad in the katnos the mocha. Let me read it again. My mind was wandering a little bit. For the kaveh b'chilas karpas, it should have this kavanah when you're eating the karpas. Shagam kol shar hamochim shal the Katnos Rishon, that all of the rest of the Katnos Rishon, he said it would go, I guess, with the muach habina. Shebekavim a small. And also the das, shebekavim soin the bitzad ima, shehir tevuna. Now we says, Gam kol shar ha-Katnos Rishon, the Katnos Rishon from the side of ima, the Katnos Rishon from the side of the middle line. Gam heim neknosem yachad in Katnos the muach chochma, they also come in. The Katnos Rishon on the side of chochma, they all come in at the same time. So it's a big time Katnos Rishon coming in. Shuhu kaviyamim, the fi shahim kolulim bo, because all the other kavim, there's an interesting idea, needs to be explored. All the rest of them are included in it. Nimsiki ein shinoi b'seder kanisa, so there's no real difference in the order of the Knesset Amochim, Rak B'moch HaChochma, only in this one, because with this one, it comes out of turn, right? It comes after after Gadol Sheni. So the normal way would be first. So all the rest of the kosas, it is going to be first. The Rak B'moch HaChochma Sheniknas Katnos Rishon B'chachidas Karpas, it has to be there that it happens. Acher gadlusa bechusheni shekavod niktas, because the Rishon that already entered into the first cup. Avach b'moach habina v'das, but when you're talking about those mochin, haniknasim ad that come in ayidecha v'shacha b'kosas, that are coming through the rest of the kosas. Niknas Katnos Rishon shalahem, so the Katnos Rishon of them that came in first. Ata b'chidas Karpas. Before Gadol Rishon came in, the Gadol Sheni also them. Ashalachem b'shar kosa v'nimsa, shehem niknasin considering mamish, that in all the other kosas, they all come in the regular order. There's no real difference. So that's a little idea, interesting ideas there. So this is the secret of what the rabbi says. The idea of Karpas that comes in at the time of the Suda. And the reason why is that there has to be something different that the children should ask. Al Pirush the we still haven't eaten bread, so they're asking, so then why are we doing this now? Shelo kfi haragila rabishach shavasa v'yomim tovim. I mean, right after we make kiddush, we eat bread. Tovim shemiyad achar kiddush oklin lechet. But so the Indian. But what's the secret over here? Hu ki hatinukos. Kasa b'Gemara. So over there we say the Gemara. So on the Gemara, einam lefiv shuto. It's not the simple meaning of what you think about the little children. You could even talk about your 40-year-old son, say, for example, if you're an older man. It's certainly not a child. But what it is a remez to not knowing what's going on, to being in the dark, which is the concept of the Katnos Rishon, which is where Paro grabbed the hold. So you're talking about Zer Anpin, which is receiving mochim of Katnos. So therefore, that's why we ask a question. How is it? Madua, why? Niknas Katnos Arishon, Shehem Shemos Elokem, Karpas, and that all is happening as a result of eating Karpas, Shalo Kasidran, in the not the right way. But since Gadlus Rishon already came, but Katnos Sheni already came in, the Gadlus Sheni, because Shalakedesh, and all of this came in when you drank the first cup of wine. Ki heim roim ba'atzman, so they can see in them amongst themselves that since they are caught in the mochan the Katnos Rishon, adaim lo niknas b'chem mochan the Gadlus, the Gadlus did not come in yet. Gam al derek, in this same way of thinking is why we say the man nishtana. Which is mentioned at the beginning of the Kavod, before you really get into the story of Pesach. So then we say we don't dip. So why are we doing this 2 times? We're asking these questions. Madua osim tivul nosif kodem asuda. So why do we have to do it a second time before the meal? The shem hakanosis amochen, because we're bringing the hadachs the mochen the Katnos. The God, but only after we brought in the big time mochen of Godless. But Pirush Shaila Zu. So the answer for this is Zu. The answer for this is like this. When we say that, Ki klipas paro choisech and echazed b'mochen the Katnos, because the klipa there we understand it grabbed the hold of the mochen the Katnos Rishon, which is the Elokim, this lavush again, the Elokim, the lavush of the mochen the Katnos, because the fact that they can grab a hold of these Elokims as Am Yisrael v'dochav v'nasa v'dochav v'tzeitz v'mitzrayim. So in my travels, I was in a lot of houses of santeros, of people, mostly women, who practice witchcraft in the Cuban community. It's very common. And you see that actually what they're working with is the name Elokim. So Elokim is that try to punish something, punish the enemies. So it's a kind of idea of idolatry. Let's go on anyway, just want to throw that in. So that these outside forces, these things which are false, but powerful. He says, to really grab a hold again. So therefore, for this to be possible, so that we wouldn't be immediately sunk right back down into this, these mochinda Katnos, and all the dinim that come along with it, as kanisas agadlas arishon v'chakatas agadlas asheni, elakatas arishon to the first katnas v'lechem al derek zeh. So therefore, in this way, because shana belel Pesach, every year at the night of Pesach, Anima achreim as Kinesis HaKatnos Rishon. So therefore, this is the reason why we bring Katnos Rishon in first. Al Achar HaKiddush. Shabo Niknas and Mamochan the Gadol, because then all the big time Mochan have already come in. Al Derek and Nizka the Ale. Harech Shachativu the Rishon. Tamura al Seder Kinesis Mochan Shadoch Ketsidron. Choyukdei Lermoz Be'ez Oven Negali Yisrael Mitzrayim is to really give a reference to that idea. I think that we go over here, start here. Okay, we will start here. Today is, no idea. Today is the 10th, I think. They're not exclusive. I mean, you don't want to think about the solar year. Well, the solar year is happening right now. It's springtime.